afternoon, students. I hope all of you are doing good and I hope your preparation is going fine. This is 13th of February 2024 and we are here to discuss important articles from The Hindu and The Indian Express. Now, the handout of this session is there in the description box. You may utilize it to streamline your current affairs preparation. Now, coming on to the table of contents. The first topic which we are going to cover today is Farmers' Protests 2.0. Second topic is in relation to retail and wholesale inflation in India. The third topic is in relation to Alliance for Global Good, Gender Equity and Equality. Last but not the least is the SWATI Portal. Okay, so coming on to the first topic, that is Farmers' Protest 2.0. Now, Farmers' Protest 2.0 is underway as the farmers from Punjab, Haryana and Western UP, they are marching towards New Delhi on February of 13, that is today. So that is why Farmers' Protest 2.0 becomes very important for us. Now, in relation to General Studies Paper 3, where agriculture is a very important part, issues related to direct, indirect farm subsidies, minimum support price have been mentioned, and several other topics of agriculture as well. That is why Farmers' Protest 2.0 becomes very important. Coming on to the protest. Now, many of you students might be in colleges or in schools or might be very small when 2020 Farmers' Protests happened. So 2020 Farmers' Protest took place in India. Now let us understand the background and the genesis of it. Then only we'll be able to understand Farmers' Protest 2.0. So first, coming on to the background. So what happened in September of 2020? Government of India and the Legislature of India, that is the Parliament of India, they enacted 3 farm laws. So these farm laws were associated with the trade and commerce, were associated with price assurance and farm services, and were also related to essential commodities. So these were the 3 farm laws, that is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act of 2020, the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Act of 2020, then your Essential Commodities Amendment Act of 2020. So these were the 3 farm laws which were passed by the Parliament of India on September of 2020. Now what happened was, according to several agricultural experts and several farmer unions, several agricultural unions, there were some discrepancies in these acts. And that is why they saw these acts as a threat to their mandi system and as a threat to the overall agricultural economy in India. And that is why they thought of protesting against these acts. Of course, government had their own viewpoint, government had their own standpoint that these acts are for farmers' welfare only, farmers' protection only, but farmers were apprehensive about these acts. And not all the farmers in the country, but especially in the region of Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, some areas of Rajasthan, especially in the northern belt and also some portion of the southern belt as well, several of the farmers were apprehensive of these acts. And that is why they decided to launch a movement. That is, Delhi Chalo movement was launched by the farmers in November 25th, 2020. So 2020 itself, on November 25, a call for Delhi Chalo was given by several big farmers unions. Now what happened was, over the span of next 1 year, a lot of widespread protests and agitations could be seen in the entire country. Lot of controversies also happened. Lots of conflicts also erupted. Because of that, several controversies were involving government as well. Several farmers also died. Several police personnel were also killed. And there was huge harm to the infrastructure and manpower as well. So because of these things and because of widespread protests which were ongoing, especially in the Singhu border and the Tikri border of the Delhi area, several protests were ongoing for the entire year, right? And there was a standoff, of course, between the government and the farmers unions and several of the farmers. So farmers with all their tractors, all their infrastructures, they were at Delhi's borders. For 2 months straight, there was no rail services in Punjab region. Right, so railway services stopped in Punjab region and a lot of other things also happened. So seeing all of these things, Honorable Supreme Court of India first of all will intervene, and Honorable Supreme Court of India will put a stay on these acts and will form a committee for the review of it. But then also the protests wouldn't stop. Any controversy would erupt. After a few days, any new controversy would also erupt. right, based on any specific issue which was going on in that period of time. So what will happen in November 19, 2021, that is 1 year after the Delhi Chalo movement. So 1 year has been completed of the Delhi Chalo movement, and November 19, 2021, at the occasion of Gurpurav, our Honorable Prime Minister of India will announce that the government will repeal these farm laws. So government is going to take back these farm laws that was announced by our Honorable Prime Minister on November 19, 2021. Now, why it is very, very important for us to know, because this is a very significant step in India's political history also, right? So 50 years down the line, 100 years down the line, when people are going to read India's history, this November 19, 2021, when the Honorable Prime Minister of India will repeal 3 farm laws after widespread agitation of the farmers, this instance in itself will become very, very significant and important. And eventually, 20 days after this, on December 9, 2021, farmers will call off their protest and they will celebrate a Vijay Divas. So these are the chronology of events which happened in 2020-2021 in relation to farmers' agitation and farmers' protest in India. Now the question is, we are talking about farmers' protest 2.0. That is in 2024 what is happening. So in 2024, today, this day itself, 13th of February, farmers have again called for Delhi Chalo movement. Now more than 250 farmers union under your Kisan Mazdoor Morcha, that is KMM, and Sanyukt Kisan Morcha non-political, which is composing of 150 unions, they have called for protests again. And they are being coordinated in regions of Punjab, Haryana, UP and Rajasthan, at least as of now. So they have again called for protest. They have called for Delhi Chalo. Now the call for Delhi Chalo was also given on December 2023. Right? So 2 months back also there was a call given for Delhi Chalo to remind the government, according to the Farmers Union, the call was given to remind the government of the promises which they made to the farmers on November 2021. To remind the government of the promises that you have to fulfill the promises as well. Right? So for that a call was given. And now in reality the farmers are marching towards New Delhi as of February 13, 2024. Now, while I was coming to record this lecture as well, a huge deployment of Delhi police personals could be seen in national highways in and around Delhi, right? So, farmers protest 2.0, they are going to begin. Now, what we need to understand is, what are the demands of farmers in this farmers protest 2.0? Because in the initial protest, that is farmers protest 1.0, farmers' demand was to repeal the 3 acts. Now 3 acts were repealed, yes of course, but now what are the other demands which are left? So farmers are having 12-point agenda. These farmers unions which are coming on to protest, they are having a 12-point agenda. That is 12 significant points which they want reforms at, right? So first is in relation to your minimum support price, MSP. Now, minimum support price, we all know it's a price flooring. That is, government sets a price that minimum farmers needs to be paid this much for the crop, XYZ any amount. Minimum they need to be paid this much amount for the crop. And beyond that, if the traders want to pay the farmers, they are free to pay. But below it, they should not pay. But one thing which we should know is MSP in India is not legally mandated. Right? So, according to the farmers union, they are wanting a law to guarantee minimum support price for all the crops, and price determination should be happening based on Dr. M.E. Swaminathan Commission report. So, there are 2 things. One is that MSP should be set for all the crops and there should be a law to guarantee it. Right now, there is no law guaranteeing minimum support price. So, that is what farmers are demanding. Another is that price determination. That how a minimum support price is set. The price determination should be done on the basis of Swaminathan Commission report, right? That is what the farmers are demanding. Now, second is full debt waiver for farmers and laborers. So, farmers and laborers, we know they take on huge debts to invest in agriculture, and of course, they are not able to recover the amount. That is why they fell into debt trap as well. So to help the farmers coming out of the debt trap, the farmers unions are saying that full debt waiver we require for the farmers and agricultural laborers. Now you have to understand there is a difference between the farmers and agricultural laborers. Agricultural laborers, they usually work under the farmers and work on the fields. So these are the two demands. First is in relation to MSP and price determination. Second is in relation to debt waiver. Now third is in relation to Land Acquisition Act of 2013. So farmers are saying that this implementation of Land Acquisition Act of 2013 with the provisions for written consent should happen. So there should be a written consent from the farmers before the land acquisition happens. That is what they are demanding. And also compensation should be provided to the farmers 4 times the collector rate. So the collector rate of the land which is going on at that point of time, 4 times the collector rate amount should be paid to the farmer as compensation if the land is being acquired. And the written consent of the farmers should be taken. That is what the farmers are demanding. These are the 3 things. Now, fourth thing is punishment for the perpetrators of October 2021 Lakhimpur Kheri killings. Now, as I told you that in that span of 1 year from November of 2020 to November of 2021, a lot of conflicts were there, a lot of incidents happened, controversies happened. So, one such incident was Lakhimpur Kheri killings, right? And farmers are demanding that there should be punishment to the perpetrators for that as well, because several political figures are said to be and alleged to be involved in those killings. That is why farmers are demanding punishment to the perpetrators, that is those who are accused and those who commit the crime. Now, India should withdraw from World Trade Organization. This is also one such agenda for the farmers and the reform which the farmers are demanding. So first is in relation to MSP price determination. Next is debt waiver. Another is Land Acquisition Act. Some provision needs to be changed. Then Lakhimpur Kheri killings. Perpetrators should be given the punishments. Then WTO, World Trade Organization. Now we know that India is a founding member of WTO. Right? Now what farmers are demanding is that India should withdraw from World Trade Organization. Because World Trade Organization is having an agreement which we call as Agreement on Agriculture. And that Agreement on Agriculture in a way is very controversial because several allegations are levied on India or laid on India that India is providing a lot of excessive subsidies to the farmers, which according to the Agreement on Agriculture, WTO, they should not give to the farmers. So farmers are saying that WTO is against the agricultural practices in our country. That is why we need to withdraw from it. And also we need to freeze all the free trade agreements. That is what the farmers are saying. So free trade agreements in relation to agriculture, so that our home agricultural farmers, that is our domestic agriculture, does not suffer. That is what farmers are saying. And also providing pensions to farmers and farm laborers. That is also what farmers are demanding. So these are the 6 demands in the 12-point agenda. Let us see the another 6. So another 6 involves compensation for the farmers who died during the Delhi's protest in 2020-2021. So I told you several of the farmers died, several police personnel also died during that period because of the tussle. So compensation should be provided to the farmers who died during that period of time. That is what farmers are demanding. And a job for one family member of the families of whom the farmers died, right? So one job to any of the family members for the family members of the farmer who died during the Delhi protest of 2020-2021. That is what they are demanding. Now one more thing is there in relation to Electricity Amendment Bill of 2020. So farmers are demanding that it should be scrapped. That is, Electricity Amendment Bill should be scrapped, because according to the farmers union, if this bill becomes an act, the free electricity which the farmers are getting in long run or in the coming few years, it will suffer. And farmers might not enjoy free electricity which they are enjoying right now. So that is why they are also saying that you repeal or you scrap this particular bill. Now, in relation to MG Narega also, they are having a demand. MG Narega, we know that it provides employment to the rural households, and 100 days assured employment is provided, right? So farmers are demanding that you should provide employment for 200 days. Instead of 100 days employment under MG Narega should be provided per year. And the daily wage should be 700. That is what the farmers are demanding. And one more thing in relation to MG Narega, that MG Narega should be linked with farming. Not just with the laborer practices, but with the farming as well. So first is compensation of for the farmers who died. Next is electricity amendment bill of 2020 should be scrapped. Another one is in relation to MJ Narega reforms are required by the farmers, that 200 days employment should be provided, 700 should be the wage, and farming should also be included under MJ Narega. Next one is penalties and fines on companies who are producing fake seeds, those who are producing fake pesticides and fertilizers. So huge fine should be levied on them and they should be paying huge penalties. Government should impose huge penalties and fines on those who are making fake seeds, pesticides and fertilizers. That is what the farmers are demanding. And also there should be improvements in the overall seed quality which the farmers are getting. That is what another their demand is. Now one more demand is that a national commission should be set up for spices such as chili and turmeric. So especially for spices, a national commission should be set up so that spices could be promoted in our country. That is what again farmers are demanding. And also one more thing is ensuring right of indigenous people, that is the original inhabitants, over water, forest and land should be protected. That is what again farmers are demanding. So now we know the widespread 12-point agenda which the farmers are having in their mind, which they are putting across the government. Now, what is the stance of government in it? So currently the government stance is very accommodative. Government is ongoing. Government is having several talks with the farmers. Our Minister of Agriculture also and Farmers Welfare, they met the farmers delegation as well. In Punjab also they met, in Delhi also the meetings are ongoing. Right. So now it's to be seen that what is to be done in the current scenario and what the government stance will be in future after the protest takes place. But right now the government stance is very accommodative and the talks are ongoing. Of course, this news, this farmers protest will build up over the next few days, and again hopefully it will be covered in one of the analysts whatever happens in future also. So this is in relation to the farmers protest 2.0. As of now, what all details we know. Okay, now coming on to the second topic, that is retail and wholesale inflation. Now retail inflation has eased to a 3-month low to 5.1% in January of 2024. Now in relation to that, retail inflation becomes very, very important. And while we are understanding retail inflation, we should also understand another type, that is wholesale inflation as well. That is why this topic. Now in relation to General Studies Paper 3 Indian Economy, this topic becomes extremely important. Now we have taken retail and wholesale inflation multiple times in the same analyst as well. But again, this topic is so important that you need to know and you need to cover it multiple times, right? So coming on to the retail inflation and wholesale inflation. First, let us talk about the line of distribution. So there is some term known as line of distribution. So usually what happens is there are a set of producers who produce different commodities. Now producers don't sell the produce or sell the product directly to the consumers. There are several chains, there are several lines which are built. So producers, they sell usually the products to the wholesalers, right? Wholesalers buy the goods at bulk from the producers. Now wholesalers in turn, they sell the same product to small outlets which we see all around. These are known as your retailers. So there is producer, then wholesaler and then retailer, and from retailer the consumers directly buy the product, right? So why I'm telling you all of these things is because inflation, while we are calculating at a wholesale level, we are seeing the perspective of the wholesaler. So from wholesaler's perspective, how much inflation is there? Now your logical question would be, sir, what is inflation? So inflation, if I have to define in just one line, inflation means systematic rise in the price of commodities or price of goods and services in a country. And there is one word, that is your sustained rise in prices of goods and services in a country is what we call as inflation. So price increase, generally we call inflation as price increase. So price increase at wholesale level is what we call as wholesale inflation. So wholesale inflation, we talk about the goods sold and traded in bulk by the wholesale businesses. So from the wholesaler's perspective, how much the price of goods have gone up, that is what we calculate in wholesale inflation. And there is an index, of course, we use. In order to calculate inflation, how do we calculate inflation? We use an index. That is certain set of commodities, we see them, we monitor them, and then see how their prices are increasing and decreasing. So basket of goods are there. So for that, there is an index prepared. That index is wholesale price index for calculating your wholesale inflation. Now, wholesale price index is calculated or stated by your Office of Economic Advisor under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So, your Ministry of Commerce and Industry is responsible for your wholesale price index. Now, one very, very important thing for us to know is, it's important for your preliminary examination as well, wholesale price index only includes goods. Wholesale price index does not include services. So, services are not included in wholesale price index. This we need to know, because usually goods are sold at bulk. I am teaching all of you, so I am providing a service. Can I provide the service in a wholesale level? Right? It's very difficult. So, wholesale services are usually not the case. Wholesale goods are the case. That is why wholesale price index only takes into account goods. Now, coming on to the base year. So, what is the base year under this wholesale price index? So, it was revised from 2004-05 to 2011-12 in the year 2017. So, right now the base year is 2011 and 2012. So, 2011-12 is the base year for your wholesale price index. It's calculated by your Office of Economic Advisor, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. I hope this is very, very clear to all of you. Now, as we discussed about wholesale price index, we made a chain, that is your producer, then wholesaler, then retailer, and then consumer. So, from wholesaler's perspective, we calculate wholesale inflation. Now, from retailer's perspective, if you are wanting to calculate inflation, that is rise in price, from the perspective of the retailer, we calculate retail inflation. So, this inflation, rise in price from perspective of retailers, those who are directly dealing with the consumers, from their perspective, how much price rise have been there in the country. That is what your retail inflation means. And to calculate your retail inflation, it is of course from the perspective of the retailers and the consumers, because who is consuming the retail products? The consumers itself. Who is using the retail products? The consumer itself. So, for calculating retail inflation, we use another index, that is your consumer price index, which calculates inflation from the perspective of the consumers, what the end consumer is buying. From perspective of wholesaler, it's wholesale inflation. From the perspective of the end consumer, the retail goods which we buy, that is your retail inflation, or we also call it as consumer inflation. So, consumer price index is there. Who calculates it? Your National Statistical Office, NSO, which is under your Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Now, there are several subgroups under this consumer price index. Subgroups, for example, the basket of commodities which are taken into account or whose price is monitored. First is food and beverages. Then it is fuel and light. Then it is housing and clothing, bedding and footwear. So, if you want to know in detail, this is the pie chart which shows the set of commodities included in your consumer price index. So, food and beverages we saw, pan, tobacco, intoxicants, then clothing, footwear, housing, fuel, light, and miscellaneous products are included, right? So, coming on to the base year of consumer price index, so it is 2012. So, for wholesale price index, it is 2011-2012. For consumer price index, it is 2012. And it calculates inflation from the perspective of the retail buyer, that we already know. Now, there are several subgroups and subtypes of this consumer price index. So, there are essentially 4 types of consumer price index. And it depends on from whose perspective you are calculating the rise in price of retail goods. If you are calculating it from the perspective of industrial workers, it is your CPI-IW. If you are calculating it from perspective of agricultural laborers, it is CPI-AL. If you are calculating it from the perspective of rural laborers, it is CPI-RL. And overall, if you have to see CPI rural urban combined, this is the real CPI which we saw in the last slide, whose base year is 2012, calculated by CSO Mosby. That is Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So, the first 3 over there, CPI industrial worker, agricultural laborers and rural laborers, they are compiled by Labour Bureau under Ministry of Labour and Employment. So, remember, wholesale price index calculated by Ministry of Commerce and Industry, CPI combined rural urban calculated by your NSO, National Statistical Office, under MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics Program Implementation. And these three, that is CPI, IW, AL and RL, calculated by Ministry of Labour and Employment, that is Labour Bureau under Ministry of Labour and Employment. Fourth, as we know, it is by NSO, National Statistical Office, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. And the base year for industrial workers, it is not 2012, it is 2016. So this is also one peculiar fact which we need to know. So I hope this retail and wholesale inflation, it is crystal clear in your mind. Now coming on to the third very important topic of today, it is Global Alliance for Global Good, Gender Equity and Equality. Now India has been successful in establishing a Global Alliance for Global Good to establish gender equity and equality in India, to promote women's empowerment and gender equality, and not just in India, but in the entire world at an international level. To promote gender equality, India has launched this Global Alliance. So what this alliance is all about, what is the significance of it, we'll be trying to understand. In relation to General Studies Paper 1, Role of Women and Women Associated Organizations, in General Studies Paper 2, Important International Institutions, and also your Social Justice part of General Studies Paper 2, this topic becomes very, very crucial and important. Now coming on to the alliance, that is the Global Alliance for Global Good. Now it is a new alliance which is established for global good, that is, good should happen to the entire world, for promotion of gender equity and equality. So that is the primary focus of this Global Alliance. That itself we get to know from the name. But when it was established in the sidelines of World Economic Forum meeting. So your 54th annual World Economic Forum meeting, which took place in Davos, in that India announced making up of this Global Alliance for Global Good. Now what is the aim for it? Aim we already know, gender equity and equality, to establish that. But another set of aim is bringing together the worldwide best practices. What is it Global Alliance actually doing? It is bringing best practices from the world, sharing knowledge amongst each other, investment opportunities in women's education, health and enterprise. So in relation to women's healthcare, education, entrepreneurship, enterprise, startups, in relation to that, it's a forum, right? This Global Alliance, it is a forum which will bring on the best practices, which will share the levels of knowledge and bring in investment opportunities for women, education, healthcare and enterprise. That is what this Global Alliance for Global Good does. Now in relation to our Sustainable Development Goals, achievement of SDGs, it helps in achievement of 4 of the many SDGs which are there. So SDG 3, good health and well-being, it is helping in ensuring that also, this Global Alliance. It is also helpful in ensuring quality education, SDG 4. Then SDG 5, gender equality and empowerment. Then SDG 17, global partnership for development. All these SDGs are directly associated with this Global Alliance for Global Good. Now there is a widespread support given to this alliance by a lot of industry leaders, including your MasterCard, Uber, Tata, TVS, Bayer, Godrej, Serum Institute of India, IMD Lausanne, then 10,000 other partners from the Confederation of Indian Industries. So we see industrial support to this particular Global Alliance is very, very widespread. And also it is supported by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, housed and anchored by your Confederation of Indian Industries Center for Women Leadership. So under the Confederation of Indian Industries Center of Women Leadership is there. It is housing and anchoring this Global Alliance for Global Good, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is also supporting it. Now World Economic Forum, since it was happening in the sidelines of World Economic Forum, so World Economic Forum becomes the network partner for this alliance. And Invest India Forum, it becomes institutional partner for this alliance. Now these few factual things you should know, because in prelims UPSC is having the knack of asking these things, that World Economic Forum is the network partner, or they might interchange it also, that World Economic Forum, it is the institutional partner, Invest India is the network partner. So that would be a wrong statement. So you should be knowing these kind of facts as well while studying about these factual topics. Now that is your Global Alliance for Global Good. Now, since we are talking about World Economic Forum a lot, let us briefly understand what is this World Economic Forum. So first of all, it is an international forum which is bringing together individuals and political business leaders throughout the world every year. And what do? They discuss significant issues which are impacting global economy. So there are various political leaders, economic leaders, business leaders from around the world. They gather at a forum, that is World Economic Forum, to discuss issues impacting global economy. And the headquarter is in Geneva, Switzerland. And the annual conference, it happens at Davos, the Swiss ski resort. So annual World Economic Forum meeting, it happens at Davos, the Swiss ski resort. And on what kind of issues they talk about? Of course, impacting the global economy, but it can be ranging from political issues to economic issues to social issues and environmental concerns as well. So these are the broad range of topics on which they talk about. Now, one thing which we need to know is World Economic Forum is not having any independent decision-making power. It is not that powerful. It is just a forum where the important business leaders, important political leaders, they meet and they indulge. So main role of World Economic Forum is to influence people to make decisions. So whatever discussions which goes around in the conference, it influences people to make decisions for the benefit of the global community. That is what World Economic Forum does. And also it influences corporate and public decision making, because it's a forum. Collectively, political and economic leaders and business leaders, they are coming together, discussing about a wide range of issues, political, economic, social, environment. While discussing all of those things, World Economic Forum will act as a catalyst to influence corporate and public sector decision making. So they should take a decision based on consensus, based on the issues which are being highlighted in the conference. That is what World Economic Forum does. And how it is funded? It is funded through its membership itself. No specific funding comes for World Economic Forum. I hope this topic is again crystal clear to all of you. Now, last topic, a very small topic. It is in relation to SWATI Portal. SWATI Portal. Now, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, they have launched a SWATI Portal. The full name of it is Science for Women, a Technology and Innovation Portal. So, in relation to science for women, promotion of science subjects in one specific gender, and a technology and innovation portal has been created. So now we know it's in relation to a specific gender, that is for promotion of women in the field of sciences and technology. Now let's understand what's more in-depth detail about this portal, but it's important for General Studies Paper 2, Welfare Schemes for the Vulnerable Sections. Also important for General Studies Paper 1, Role of Women and Associated Organizations, and Social Justice as well. This becomes very, very important. So what is the aim of the SWATI Portal? That is what we need to understand. What is the real aim? So real aim is, first of all, it is an online portal. So aim is to create an online portal which represents Indian women and girls in STEM fields. So Indian women and girls who are part of STEM fields, it will represent those women. This portal will represent those women and girls. Now, what is these STEM fields? STEM fields involves science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine related fields. So women and girls who are engaged in these fields, these forums, they will be represented in an online portal, that is SWATI Portal, right? Now, why it is important? Because it will be very helpful in policy making and addressing the challenges of gender gap which particularly exists in your STEM areas. So there is widespread gender gap which is there, right? In STEM areas, the participation of women in the STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine, is considerably lower than that of males. So to promote that, the SWATI portal will be very, very helpful. Now, it's a complete interactive database and it's first of its kind built in India. Now, it's developed, hosted and maintained by NIPGR, that is your National Institute for Plant Genome Research, that is situated in New Delhi. So this is the organization which is developing, hosting and maintaining this SWATI portal. Now, what are the objectives of it? First objective is to ensure each and every Indian woman works in science or comes in the domain of science, and to ensure there is long-term research on equality, diversity and inclusivity in India. These are the major two objectives of this portal. Now, this portal will include a lot of icons. We discussed it will include Indian women and girls in STEM fields. So, a lot of icons which can be your Padma awardees, or those who have won Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award, a very prestigious award, or Stri Shakti Science Samman. It will include the directors, secretaries of various academies, and the presidents, academy presidents as well. It will include faculties of Indian universities and other autonomous organizations, including Science and Technology Ministry or CSIR, DBT, DST, Department of Biotechnology, Science and Technology, CSIR, Ministry of Human Resource Development, UGC, Gati, Kiran. So all these individuals or all these icons which are part of these things will be a part of this portal, which represents Indian women and girls working in STEM field. That is what your SWATI portal is all about. I hope this topic is also very clear to all of you. So all the very best. Have a very nice day and good luck for your preparation. Bye-bye.